box to box overlap. And we're just going to go over everything that happened in round 3, all the action, all the big games that we had. And yeah, South Africa losing to Ireland and Australia just laying a goose egg. Yeah, so round 3, here we go. First game was on Wednesday, Italy taking on Uruguay. Yeah, obviously Italy won this game 38-17. Second win, or is it the third win? Second win of the group. Obviously, Monty Ioane, Digby's nephew, got on the score sheet. Michel Lamaro was named man of the match in that game. Then on Thursday, we had France taking on Namibia. African boys lost 96-0. Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about that game. I'll just put the video up right here. And yeah, you guys tell me what you think about Tier 3 nations getting more rest. Namibia are going to play 4 games in a row in our Rugby World Cup, having not played a Tier 1 nation in almost 4 years. Anyway, yeah, I go over that a lot. Johan Deysel, the Namibian captain, was sent off after a head clash with Antoine Dupont. Obviously, Dupont fractured his cheekbone. He's now a doubt for the rest of the tournament, but he hasn't been ruled out. So let's see what they decide to do. There's still 2 more weeks to the quarterfinals, which France are definitely in. And now they have to look to Luku and Kuyo to take over that 9 rule. Between now and then, Damien Penaud obviously was man of the match. Had 3 tries, 2 try assists. And a small word from the captain. Yeah, the captain was just said show must go on, regardless. So now they are down. They're down 2 people. Like, who would be there? Fly off and scrum off, 2 of their leaders going into this tournament and the build-up of this tournament from like 4 years ago. It's going to be tough, but in front of the French crowd, they'll have the backing of the crowd. So let's see how they do. Then on Friday, Argentina took on Samoa. Argentina ran out 19-10 winners. Emiliano Bofelli was man of the match in that game. Argentina back on the scoreboard after losing to England in their first game. Bofelli scored 16 points. And then Saturday, so 3 matches, including the big one. So Georgia took on Portugal, England took on Chile, and South Africa played Ireland. Georgia-Portugal ended in a draw, 18-0. If you haven't watched the highlights of that game, the ending was quite interesting. Portugal had the chance to win it, but they just missed a last-minute penalty after Georgia had also just scored to equalize. Geronimo Portela was man of the match. Portuguese fullback, one of the 2. Then England ran out 71-0 winners over Chile. Obviously, it was a big day for Henry Arundel, who was man of the match and scored 5 tries on debut. Good day for him. Then, yeah, last game of the day was number 1 taking on number 2. South Africa going up against Ireland. South Africa lost 13-8 to the Irish. Did a whole post-match about that game and, yeah, what I thought about like the Irish and the Box moving forward. You can check that out up here as well. Bandi Eki, man of the match, 3rd game in a row, 3 out of 3. He's been probably best player in the tournament. Yeah, just leading from the front again, just ball carries, line breaks, tackles, like the complete package at 12. And with that win, Ireland, of course, stay top. They stay world number 1. And for South Africa now, they know exactly what they need to do according to, or as their captain Sia said, now they know exactly what they need to do. They have to win their next game. They more or less know who they have to beat. They more or less have a clear understanding of how the path to the final is going to look like. So, yeah, for sure they'll bounce back. Andre Pollard was also called up, so maybe that solves a lot of their goal-kicking issues. Manny Libok, a player that I love, but is just in an unfortunate situation. Spoke about him as well, so yeah, just can check out that video up there. And then Scotland took on Tonga on Sunday, and Wales took on Australia. Scotland came out 45-17 winners against Tonga. Tonga, I expected more from them in this tournament, but I just think like the new players coming in, like just not meshing on time, injuries. Like they've tried. They really like asked a lot of questions. That's Scotland a lot of questions, but Scotland they've shown a lot more maturity over the years. Finn Russell doesn't just play he's not the flashy, flamboyant. I mean, he still is flashy, but he's flashy within certain bounds, right? Like within a structure. Duhan van der Merwe was voted man of the match. And then the last game of round 3 was Wales taking on Australia, which was a massacre, to say the least. Australia. I have so much to say about Australia. First of all, I just want to say I actually feel bad for Australians. Like you guys don't deserve this. You really don't. Like, Rugby Australia, like there's no one else to look. The fact that you can fire Dave Rennie just before a World Cup, yes, not everything was rosy, but he was trying to build something. And Eddie Jones just comes with so much. He's so erratic in decision making, everything's just so erratic. Squad selection, press conferences, sometimes he just needs stability. If you look at Wales and Australia, both of them had lost plenty of games going into this tournament. But for Wales, they managed to turn it around, right? So Wales just decided Wayne Pivac had to go. So they're the same position. But for someone like Wayne Pivac, that one was coming. He was going to get fired. He was fired, then they brought back someone they know very well in Warren Gatland. And Warren Gatland just said, we're going to go pragmatic into this tournament. We're not going to be flashy. We're just going to play to our strengths and not play in our area. You saw in the game against Wales taking on Fiji, I think it was. It wasn't Fiji. It was the second game they played. I can't remember. When they had the chance to run from their own 22, and it was towards the end of the half. And Dan Bigger was shouting at George North, and he's like, dude, we can't be messing around over here. That type of leadership is what is missing with the Australians. There's a lot of back. Like when you see Will Skelton coming in and doing leading the huddle. There's a lot of back, but then there's no, to be honest, Will Skelton, who is now playing in France. He's not really led a team, to be honest. It's also tough on him, right? You can't just let a player like that just come in and have to lead a nation to the Rugby World Cup, especially a nation with such heritage in the tournament, having already won 2 World Cups before. There is no tournament that Australia goes in and says this is a build-up tournament. They always go into every tournament with expectation. Last year, that team that Dave Rennie was building may not have been the best, but they knew if they got a chance, they would beat anyone who's in front of them, and they could beat anyone in front of them on any given day. Dropping QC to me was just dumb. You picked one fly half in the squad. We all knew it's not going to work. First of all, he's a young guy. He's not like a game manager. You knowing you have a young squad, you're going to be in many close situations. You need leaders, right? Michael Hooper, someone who's given his life to Rugby Australia. I know you don't select people off of emotion, but if there was ever someone who's been a servant of rugby, to be honest, he's also dealing with other things like personal issues, but he was ready for selection. He was there. The man has led. The man speaks. Everyone listens, right? In this squad right now, I don't know who would speak and everyone listens. Maybe Samu Kerevi. Vunivalu came on and you could just see how much of a hothead he is. He's just, bro. And I was joking in this game. I was joking with my boy Karimi, who's a Welsh fan for many years, and telling him how after seeing the first Australian scrums and they won a penalty for the first scrum, if I'm not wrong. And I was like, yo, your boys are going to get mauled today from the scrum. No pun intended. But that didn't happen. After that, Wales won all their scrums. And not only won, they were actually winning penalties from them. They made Australia look like a joke. Australia were making the dumbest decisions, unforced errors. Samu Kerevi knocking on his own 22 while trying to carry the ball when the score is just hanging on if they score, they're back in the game. Not that they lead, they're back in the game. Just dumb decisions all round. And then Ben Donaldson starting at fly half. This is I was talking about him. You picked Carter Gordon as your main fly half. This is the game you're supposed to be starting him because Donaldson gave you good minutes at 15. Now you switch. You brought on who I forget who played at 15. But that game like was just so unmemorable. Like they had no structure. They just didn't look like they had a plan. The first 5 minutes maybe, but after that, when Wales threw their first punch, like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? They couldn't handle it. After that, they just didn't recover. And shout out to Gareth Anscombe, who came on and was like Dan Bigger got injured, I think, in the 8th minute. Like this dude came on and just said, "Yeah, I'm taking over." What Gareth Anscombe did is what Australia needed. Get penalties, kick at goal, get your points, right? This is what South Africa wanted to do against Ireland. They just couldn't do it. Like Gareth Anscombe would be an amazing flyer for South Africa. Manny Libok would be an amazing flyer for Australia. For the way they play, for the way those teams play. Wales looked really good. Again, no one has put in more tackles than Wales in this World Cup. I think even this game, they just went crazy. They are tacklers. And that's one thing I expected from Warren Gatland, which I'm seeing. Come in, be solid defensively. That was like a bare minimum, right? Like, that was bare minimum for this Australian outfit. So, yeah, man. Australia. I'm actually so mad at Rugby Australia. Like, I'm just thinking about all my boys at Sunnybank right now, like, how they felt after this game. People who put in so much time and effort to, like, just be part of Rugby Australia or help Rugby Australia. And then you see your nation just... leadership, man. Leadership at the Wallabies, leadership in the Union, just leadership all around. It's just like, and there's no continuity. Like, let Dave Rennie go. Like, give him, like, let him go first of all at the beginning of the tournament, before the tournament starts, but just let him go to the tournament, see how it works. I don't know what it was. I still haven't had, like, confirmed all the politics that's going on in there, but yeah, that was just such a dumb call. And now you have to stick with Eddie Jones, because if you don't, then what was the plan? What was the thinking behind this? You actually can't fire him. If you fire him, you guys have to get fired as well, because none of that makes sense at all. Like, none of it makes sense, right? Yeah, as we said, Gareth Anscombe was man of the match. 23 points, 6 penalties, 1 drop goal, 1 conversion. You can see him here walking off with his kids. Yeah, the boy did well. I feel like he deserved this moment. He deserved a Rugby World Cup moment. And with that, obviously, Wales qualifies for the quarterfinals. Eddie Jones. We've gone with a young team. For those of you listening on Spotify and all those places, we've gone with a young team, and I've got no regrets at all. We're building a team for the future. That's what Eddie Jones said. Yeah, so you can't fire him. You now have to stick by your decision and go through with it, right?